All right, welcome to what is church at the house? Huh?
Church at the house.
Church at the house. Church at Jason's house. All right. He's here. Where did he left? All right. Today I want to talk about the justice of God, and the reason why I thought of this subject is while I was at work one day, and this guy was talking to another guy, and he's talking about the Tower of Babel. So of course, when the Bible's mentioned, I got to get involved, you know. So I started talking to this guy, but it wasn't. He had all these different thoughts in his mind. He was just having the struggle of faith because I guess his grandmother had been preaching to him, And he's in his 20s and 30s, and he's just not kind of living the hip hop kind of life. He dresses that way, listens to that music, and he does music. I know he does it on his computer or stuff, So he's into that music, but he's also, his family has a heritage of Christianity. So he has that conflict there, and so I don't think he might not have paid attention in church or something, but I know he went. I think his grandfather was a preacher, really. But so, he started talking to me, and he couldn't, one of the questions he asked, and which brought this sermon, kind of gave me thinking about this sermon, was, yes, how could a loving God, a loving Father, kill his Son? He just couldn't understand why, if God is so kind and loving and a Father, why would he kill his Son? And so I tried to explain to him, well, what he was doing that, he was satisfying the justice of God, that there was justice that had to be satisfied. But then he brought up another question, and we just kind of went on, and we were kind of in between leaving, coming, and going and stuff, so I really didn't get a chance to talk to him about it. I just kind of threw it out at him, because every question he had another question, and I had to answer that question. But that kind of brought this subject up, and I'll just tell him, hey, go watch our video. I explained it, I answered you. Why would a loving, kind, and perfect, and holy God kill his Son? I mean, what kind of Father? I mean, God calls us to emulate him and to be like him, and then here he is. If you look at it in the natural, unregenerated mind, you look at it and you go, he's killing his own Son. Why would somebody do that, He wouldn't call me to do that, would he? No, of course not. But he could do it. So I got this message together to kind of answer that question. So, to explain that, I have to go back to the beginning. See, the justice of God, it comes right from the foundation, where he started, because it comes from his character, and he's always the same. He's never changed ever from the beginning. He's always been here, and he's always been the same. Like, we can grow and learn stuff. God does not. He's always the same. So in the beginning, he created, I know this is going to be a little bit redundant to you all, but maybe someone in the room might not know this, that when he created the world perfect. It was perfect. It was just perfect. And it was good. He declared it good. So I was thinking of this, we like to say, it's all good. Well, God said that first. That's you're quoting him when you say it's all good. Because when he created it was all good. It was perfect. And in that, he did that perfection thing. There has to be that element of justice in there. For if something violates the perfection of God, then there has to be justice. And even in the world, even in today, you guys have kids. What is the one thing kids always come back to? It's not fair. That's their cry. If somebody gets something more, a little bit different than them, then their cry is, it's not fair. And that's like creation says that it's not fair. We're all looking for fairness from God. In fact, if you probably in counseling people, if you find somebody that's angry at God, usually it's because they think God is not fair. There was a situation where they thought God should have done a different thing, and he didn't work the way they wanted to, so they say, well, God wasn't fair, God's not loving and kind, they accuse God. Well, in the beginning, way back when, there was this angel, I know this is going to be redundant, but Lucifer, the archangel, and he rebelled, and with him he took a third of the angels with him. So God had a problem right from the beginning, and it's his nature is good and just and righteous, and he's all love, but he's all justice. So he had a problem. He had to deal with this rebellion. But all of creation is watching. So how was he going to do with it? Well, how did he solve it? Well, let's go to the scriptures. Exodus chapter 34, verse 1 through 8. And this is, I'm going to this Bible verse here to explain just kind of the heart of God, where he is, to explain justice, kind of. Now, this is where God calls Moses up to the mountain there. He's going to replace the 2 tablets that Moses destroyed when he lost his temper at Aaron and the children of Israel. So verse 1 through 8, it says, Now the Lord said to Moses, Cut out for yourself 2 stone tablets like the former ones, and I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablet, which you shattered. So be ready by morning, and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai, and present yourself there to me on top of the mountain. No man is to come up with you, nor let any man be seen anywhere on the mountain. Even the flocks and the herds may not graze in front of that mountain. So he cut out 2 stone tablets like the former, and Moses rose up early in the morning. He went up on Mount Sinai as the Lord has commanded him, and he took the 2 tablets in his hand. And the Lord ascended in the clouds and stood there with him, and he called upon the name of the Lord, and the Lord passed in front of him and proclaimed, the Lord God, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in loving kindness and truth, who keeps loving kindness for thousands, who forgives iniquity and transgression and sin, yet he will not by no means leave the guilty unpunished, visiting the iniquity of the fathers and the children on the grandchildren to the 3rd and 4th generation. Moses made haste and bowed low towards him in worship. So what I want to show you from this thing here, keyed in mostly on verse 7, was that here you have this thing. God is loving. He has loving kindness for thousands, forgives iniquity, transgression, sin, but by no means clears the guilty. How do you do that? How do you punish sin, but yet reward, people? It's like, because we're sinners. It created a quandary kind of thing, evil has to be punished because it deserved, but good also has to be rewarded. So God had this problem. So we know from the book of Ezekiel and Isaiah and Jude that God punished the devils and his angels by throwing some of them down to earth. The devil, he got cast down to earth. Some of his angels got cast down, but Jude says some of them are locked in like some kind of dungeon thing in chains for judgment day. So some of them were pretty bad. I don't know, the leaders or something. They got, some of them were allowed to stay on earth and some of them weren't. So all of creation saw this. They saw how he dealt with that rebellion. He just destroyed it all. It's kind of like it doesn't make sense. And then we come to the Garden of Eden. Mankind failed. Adam and Eve failed. They were perfect. They had a relationship with God. And yet they chose to rebel against God. Now all of creation is watching us. Saying, well, what's he going to do here? It's kind of like if you're in your office or you're at work. And the boss does one thing to one person, and then the next person, the same kind of situation, and you think, how's he going to handle this one? That's what all of creation was doing. So, and what did he do? He did a totally different thing. Well, he punished them. Woman has pain and childbearing, and all of creation is damaged, and man has to work hard, and it's not going to, like Adam would just throw a bunch of seeds on the ground, and it would just prosper, and just, produce this unbelievable fruit, where we have to kind of struggle to get things going. And it was different. And then in the garden, he killed that animal. Man, Adam and Eve, they created fig leaves because they felt that guilt and that shame of sin. So we always try to do stuff. So he built, put fig leaves on them to try to cover their sin.